talk, guys. I want to talk about gentrification and what it is and how it affects every person of color in this country. So, gentrification has a long history. Before I get into that, what it is basically when businesses move in, they start to rebuild a dilapidated area that's filled with mostly black and brown people. White people move in, then everything the prices of everything goes up, and then we come out because we can afford it, right? And the reason this is so detrimental to us is because we have nowhere to stay. And when the housing prices keep going up, for one, it's just building into this housing bubble that everybody has to go through, and it's pushing us further out. And they're gonna have the same problem that they had last time with sky high rents, which is no one can afford to live in them and create a crisis. So gentrification, it starts with red lighting in the US, right? In the US, because it has a racist history, racism is to divide the working class so they can fight each other and not their bosses. So because it has a racist past, racist history, these housing companies, they would redline areas. They would say only whites in this neighborhood. We don't want coloreds in this neighborhood, etc. So that, and then you had white flight when integration was going on. Black people who came back from World War II, they got some benefits, not as much as the white soldiers, but they still got some. And they're moving into the suburbs, the American, quote unquote, American dream. So white flight happened and they just yeeted the area. They evacuated. White people left. And because that happened, the property value went down. It decreased massively. And so the ruling class of our society, the businessmen, the landlords, and the capitalists who make money off of renting out places, basically taking people's hard-earned money for living in a house, which is a human right, they started to lose out on their profits, and then their livelihoods were affected. So they bounced too. They went to where the white people went, in the suburbs. And how property value went up, prices went up, and they made bank. So that left our neighborhoods affordable, but terribly run down and dilapidated with no jobs in our community. So we were struggling there, and in the white neighborhoods, things were fine up until 70s, 80s when austerity happened. So they're still continuing austerity, but that means we started to see lower wages, union busting, and still increasing housing prices that no one can afford. So now we live in a low-wage police state. People can't afford to live in their home somewhere. One good example is Silicon Valley. The whole state of California is a good example. White people can't afford to stay in those areas anymore because it's a low-wage economy. It's a gig economy. The crash of 2008, Obama didn't save it. He just created McDonald's jobs, fast food jobs, service sector jobs. It's going to help. And because the ruling class, the bosses don't want to increase the workers' wages to a living wage because they'll lose all their money and in turn go out of business and lose their livelihood. They don't raise it, so people have to move. So you get white people moving with the wealth that they have. They have more wealth than us, than black and brown people. So they move into our neighborhoods because it's cheap, because our neighborhoods are dilapidated. Property value is low. Since it's so cheap, they move there so they can afford to live, so they can have a place to live, like everyone needs to because it's a human right. So, but they still work in the inner city. And so the landlords there, with all this new movement of people, of white people into the suburban areas, they're like, we're losing all our money now because there's less people here. And since no one's buying our houses, no one's renting our places out because the rent's too high, they're moving into the new area. So I guess we got to move there. So they move out into the black and brown neighborhoods, into the ghettos. And they start to build it up. It looks nicer, but no one can live there now because, like they did last time, they're raising up the property value. Now they're raising up the housing prices. Now we can't live there because overall we're poorer than poor white people. So we get pushed out of our houses, our homes, our neighborhoods, and we have nowhere else to go. And then eventually the white people are going to get pushed out too, because this is capitalism. In order to make money as a businessman, you got to have your money in circulation in order to make more money. It has to flow like that. And if you can't do that, if you can't constantly increase the amount of profit you're making, then you're going to get put out of business. So because of that, they're just constantly increasing housing prices, and no one can afford to live in them. That's what gentrification is. Why I speak on this, if we all know what it is, because we have to know why it happens. We can't be like, oh, gentrification is happening because of racism. Racism is a part of it. It definitely has something to do with it, but that's not the full story. The full story is capitalism. In our economy, you make profit by selling a product and making money. But you have to make more money than what you had last time. So your profit needs to circulate with the workers. And you constantly need to increase prices and decrease production costs. Now, for a landlord, you just need to increase property value. So you have to work with other people like businessmen. It's because of that. It's because of this infinite need for profit, infinite need for profit making, which is why everybody's getting kicked out of their houses and why gentrification is hitting black and brown people the hardest. So just keep that in mind, because it will help you. You will know what you need to change with that knowledge now. So cheers.
To the rhythm. You really think this country never sponsors terrorism? Human rights violations, we continue the saga. El Salvador and the Contras in Nicaragua. And on top